Good day, all cans. Today we will discuss the third module in our LMS. Let's get flexible. You will learn in this session how you will be able to use the meta tag or use other codes on how to make your website flexible in whatever monitor you will use. Objectives for this morning are the following: learn the importance of flexible layouts, understand grid system, resize contents according to the viewport, and demonstrate how to use viewport and grid system in making web pages. Let us first discuss what is a flexible layouts. Flexible layouts is the practice of building the layout of a website with a flexible grid capable of dynamically resizing to any width. Nowadays, as I have told you in our previous session, most of the people nowadays, probably more than half of the people, are using devices to view website or web pages instead of using PC or laptop. Okay, especially when they are outside their office or outside their houses, they are using either gadgets like iPad or cell phone. That's why our website nowadays should be flexible. It should resize. Your web pages should resize on whatever monitor you are using. If you are using the PC, then you will be able to show completely your web pages. But if you are to use small gadgets like iPad or tablets or cell phones, then you should be able to see the whole pages as well. So that is what flexible layout means. Your web page should adapt to whatever size of monitor the viewer is using. Now, to do that, we will be using what we call the grid system. Okay, there are three things that you need to know before creating your grid system. First, design. Decide if your columns will be equal or unequal. Meaning to say, you should, as you will notice nowadays, in all, probably most of the web pages that you are browsing, it does not contain one column only. There are some of the pages contains two or more columns. Like for example, on the first column you have your links or mga advertisement, especially like in the Facebook, diba? In Facebook you have your messenger there, you have the different application of Facebook on the left column, and then on the middle column you have your content, your main content, and then on the right side you have your advertisement there and other application or other feature. So if whenever you are to start making a responsive web pages, then you have to decide how many columns you want in your web page. Do you want those columns to be equal in terms of width, or do you want one column to be smaller than the compared to other columns? Okay, you have to decide on that, and then eventually all of those the decision will be based on the content that you will put in your web page. Second things that you need to know is behavior. Will you resize the column proportionally when viewport width changes? Okay. Will you change your column while keeping gutter fixed? Or will you change the number of columns at a specific breakpoints? Breakpoints means the breakpoints depends on how big or how wide the monitor is. For example, if you have in your PC you have 3 columns of web pages, you have 3 columns, then you have to decide whether you will also have 3 columns when you view it in a smaller monitor. Okay, you have to decide whether, let us say you are browsing it in an iPad, then you have to decide whether you will have 3 columns or you will have 2 columns and the other column will be at the bottom part. Or if you are to view it in a cell phone, then you have to decide whether the columns will be vertically aligned. Okay, that is what we call the behavior. Next is grid system to use. It is also important to decide what grid system you will use. There are many grid systems available in the internet world nowadays, but you have to decide on what is probably where you are comfortable using it. Okay. Now, one example of HTML grid system is Bootstrap. This type of system comes with predefined classes that you need to include in your markup. By the way, uh, for your information, the website of our school, www.olca.edu.ph, was made using Bootstrap grid system. I use Bootstrap because I find it somehow easy to use and easy to learn. Sample code in Bootstrap you have like this one, div class gallery, then they have div class call means column, then LG means large, and then 8, meaning to say you will have 8 large column in that one gallery, in one div. And then you have div column LG4, then meaning to say you have another column which has 4 large column. Now, a grid system is always made up of 12 columns. In one page, how big or how small the page is, it is always made up of 12 columns. Okay, that's why you have call large 8, call large 4. 8 plus 4 equals 12. Then, it may not be large. It could be small, it could be medium, it could be extra large. Small, pwedeng extra small. Extra small naman, XSM is being used if you are to view it in a cell phone. Okay? Then large, usually we use large if you are to view it in a desktop or PC. But if you are to view it in a somehow a less wider monitor, perhaps iPad, you can use medium. Okay? Then you have the link here, style sheet. You have to include this in your code whenever you are to use Bootstrap. Now, the only problem with Bootstrap that I can see is that you cannot create a web page using Bootstrap if you are not connected to internet. You cannot do Bootstrap offline. You should always be connected to internet. Okay, that is the one of the weaknesses that I can see in using the grid system Bootstrap. You always have to be connected to internet for all the features of Bootstrap to work. Another grid system is that you can also create a grid system using HTML tags, class, or attributes. For example, this one, div class gallery, then div gallery item, meaning to say you are to create 2 divs inside one page. By the way, div tag is short for division tag. Div tag is used for dividing your page into different columns, and the division will depend on what you will set in the CSS. Yeah, note you can create a grid system or grid using CSS and div tag. Okay, I will demonstrate to you later on how you will use the grid system using CSS and div tag. Now, let's go now to viewport. Ano ba yung viewport? Viewport is the user's visible area of the web page. Basically, a viewport is the whole web page. Okay, it varies with the device and will be smaller on a mobile phone than a computer screen. Obviously, the smaller the screen, the smaller the viewport. Okay, but again, the viewport is what you can see in the web page. HTML introduced a method for the viewport through the meta tag, and you should include the following meta viewport element in your web page. This is the what we call the meta code or the meta tag. You have meta as your tag, the name, viewport, contents, width, device, minus width, initial scale 1.0. Now, meta gives the browser instruction on how to control the page's dimension and scaling. Width is equal to device minus width. Set the width of the browser to follow the screen width of the device. It is the one that will determine how big, how wide your screen is. And then initial scale, set the initial zoom level when the page is first loaded by the browser. Meaning to say, the scale will be set to 100%, if you are to view it in a PC, and then it will become smaller when you are to view it in a smaller device, or a device with a smaller window or screen. Okay, now hopefully everything is clear, the grid system and the viewport. Now let me demonstrate to you now on how you can use the grid system and the viewport. Okay, let us create a simple HTML page that would make use of that would display a paragraph and an image, and let us see how viewport changes those elements or contents of your web page. Let us start with, of course, oh wait, let me just zoom in for you to see clearly. Doc type HTML. As I told you, whenever you are to create web page, always start with the structure HTML. Sorry for that. HTML. Then you have your head, title, ending title, ending head. Okay, again, do not forget to include or to put something in the title. This is about grid system. So I'll just use grid system as my title. Okay, and then you have the body, then ending body, then ending HTML. Now let me save this on the desktop, and then I'll name it sample page.html. Okay, in this HTML, first let us create an HTML without the meta tag or the viewport, so that later on we'll compare which how do they differ from one another. Let us say I will create a paragraph. Okay, this is an example of code without viewport meta tag. Okay, and then after the sentence, I will display an image. Now let me just go to my pictures, and then sample pictures. Let us say the desert. I'll copy this, and as I have told you, the image and the picture should be in the same location. So I will paste the picture also in the desktop. So in your case, you have to have your picture and your HTML page in one folder. Okay, then since we already have the desert, then I will have img, then it is an empty tag, so I will put an slash there. Then you have your source src equals, then the file name of the picture, which is desert.jpg, and then let us specify the width. The width equals, for example, 500 pixels, and then we can also have the height equals to, let us say, 350 pixels. Okay, then if you are to view this when we launch in Chrome, then you are already there. This is the paragraph, and then this is the image, 500 and 350. Then let me have another paragraph below. Let us have a long sentence. Let us get a sample sentence in Microsoft Word. Okay, equal sign, rand, then let us say one paragraph with 4 sentences. Okay, then we'll just copy this, and then we paste it here in between paragraph tag, then save. Then when we run the page, you will have your paragraph there. Now, this is an example of a code without viewport tag. Now, let me copy this. Let me copy the whole text and then paste it here in the other page, and paste it here, and then let me save sample page 2.html. Okay, but this time if we run this, basically it will be the same as the first one. They are the same. Okay, and but this time there is no difference in the two codes, but this time we will put a viewport. Viewport is being put inside head tag, so we will bring down the head tag, and then we will have here our meta tag, and then you have your name equals, then the value of name would be viewport, and then you will have your content equals, the value of the content would be width equals device minus width, then comma, then initial hyphen scale equals 1.0, and then this is an empty tag, so we'll just put a slash and then angle bracket. Okay, this is now our code for the one with viewport. Now you will notice once we run this, this is the one without sorry, let me just put this. This is an example of code with viewport, so we can see yan. Okay, this is an example of code without viewport. This is an example of code with viewport. Basically they are the same. Let me just have it 100%. Yan, both of them 100%. Okay, basically they are the same. You cannot see any difference. Even if we make it smaller, you will notice that they are still the same. There is no difference in between the two. Even if we resize our, sorry for that, even if we resize our screen, there is no difference. Okay, but if you are to put tag here or a CSS here in the one with viewport, let us say style, then you have ending style, then you just have to put here, let's say width, sorry, the image tag, image img, and then you will just put a width of 100% and the height of automatic. Then you will notice, let us see what difference can it make. There is no difference yet. Okay, pareho pa din. This is without viewport. This is with viewport. Then you might ask, sir, what is the use of the viewport if there is no difference in the output? Then we will let us now view it in a smaller device. Let us now view it in a cell phone or an iPhone. Then go to inspect, right click on any vacant area of your page, then inspect, and then yon, you will see there an iPhone. Then you will see there, let us use iPhone 5. Yan, this is an example of code with viewport. Okay, and then the other one naman, this is sample code with viewport. Yan, you will notice that in the one without viewport, the image is small. It is smaller. Unlike in the one with viewport, the image is 100%. Okay, the image is 100% simply because we put here a width of 100%. Now, if we really want to make, but you will notice here that the width or the picture is somehow you still have to, it is overlapping. So, what we will do now, meaning to say it does not fit on the screen. So, what we will do now is to make this width max width or maximum width of 100%. Ibig sabihin, it will only display 100% no matter how big or no matter how small the monitor is. So, this time, let us refresh and you will notice yon, it becomes smaller. Okay, it becomes smaller and yan, compared to let us say with an iPad, let us see yon. Okay, in an iPad it is smaller 100%. Yan. Let us do it 75% only. Yan. 'Di ba? This is the one with viewport, and then this one naman without viewport. So it means to say that the image in a code with viewport will always be 100%. It will always be 100%. You do not have to, it will not become smaller no matter how small the the monitor is. That is how we use viewport. Okay, the method, the name, or the view is, and I will paste it in one page. Set it to HTML. And then I will just remove those codes that I will not use. Yan. Okay. Then first, yan. Then I will save it sample page 3.html. Okay. First, let me divide the page into 3 horizontal columns. First, I will use div. I will give an ID of, let us say, header. Div ID header, and then I will end the div. There is no content yet. Okay. Next, after the div, I will have the div ID. This is the biggest part of the page, which is the content. And then I will end the div. Okay. And lastly, I will have a div which is an ID of footer. Usually almost the same size with the header. Now, okay. In the header, this is where you will display, let's say, the name of your company, information about the company. Now, let us, if we are to run this, you will not see anything yet. Okay, you will not see anything yet because we have no content yet. So let us have a CSS, an internal CSS style, then ending style, and then first let us target the header, the div with the ID header. So ours, again, to refresh your mind, if you are to use ID selector, then we will use hashtag hash sign. So hash header, meaning to say we are targeting the div with an ID of header, hash header. Let us say, let me give a width of let us say 90%. 90%. Then let me give a height of, let us say, 100 pixels. Then a background color. It could be background or background color will do. Pwedeng background lang, pwedeng background color. Let us say this is green. Okay. and then let me have it at the center margin. Let me first show you how it looks. Save and then refresh. Then this is our header. Okay, as you will notice, it is not in the middle of the screen. So let us put it at the middle of the screen by having, let us say, margin, using margin 0. So there will be no space at the top and bottom. And then automatic. So there will be automatic margin on the left and right side. Margin 0 auto. So it will be at the center of the page. Okay. Now, next is let us target now the div with an ID of content. So you will have hash content. Then this is the biggest. So let me give a width of 90% also. So there will be spaces in between. We are not using 100%. So there will be space in between left and right side. Okay. Width, and then let me give a height. Again, this is the biggest, so let me give a height of, let us say, 700 pixels. This is where you will put your text, paragraphs, video, pictures, and then let me give a background of, let us say, the background of, let us say, sky blue or light blue. Okay, light blue. And then, of course, we have to put it at the center, margin 0, auto. Yan. Then let me refresh. Now you have here your content. So let me just make it smaller so we will not have to scroll down. Let us say 400. Yan, this is your content. And then in the footer, let us now create a CSS for the footer. Okay, let us say hashtag footer. Then let me use also the width of 90%. Then let us give a height of siguro mga 80 pixels, smaller than the banner, than the header. Then a background color of a background, again it could be background or background color, background of gray, and then of course should be at the center, margin 0, auto. Then save, and then you have your page divided into 3 horizontal columns. Now how can we put content on this? Let us say dito inside the header, we will use, let us say, we can use a heading tag 1, H1, ending H1. Then we can put here Our Lady of Kaysasay Academy. And then when we do that, we'll notice that there will be text there. Yon, Our Lady of Kaysasay Academy. So, if we want to put it at the center, we can use a CSS. Then we'll target the H1. Then we can put here text align center. So it would be at the center of the page. Then if we want to put it vertically, sa gitna ng green, then we can use line height property, line height. Then the value should be the same as the height of our header. So it would be 100 pixels. Yan. Okay? So it would be 100 pixels, so it would be at the center there. Okay? This is how we use the grid system using CSS and HTML alone. Now, in the content naman, let us say we divide it into 2 columns. Let us say div ID is equal to ending div. Let us do two divs there. Let us say we name it left call or left column. and then this one we have it right col or right column. We will divide it into two. Then we can have here, if you will run this, you will see that there will be no difference. So because we have now no CSS yet on the left and right column. So on this left column, we just have hashtag left col. Then we can put let us say width of let us say 30%, or let us say 20%, and then height of we can use the same height of our content for 400 pixels. Yan. And then we can put border, so we can see the border 1 pixel solid black, so we can see where the left col is. So if we refresh, okay, this is our left column. Okay, then we create another one for the right column, hashtag right column. Okay, then we can have a width. Since we already used 20%, then we still have 80%. So we'll not use the whole 80%. We can have, let us say, mga 75%. Okay, then we can have a height of 400 pixels also, and then we can have the same border 1 pixel solid black. So if we are to refresh our page, then we already have two. Yon, nasa baba yung ating right call simply because hindi nagkasya doon. So all we have to do is to change the value of our width, let us say 70, then refresh. Sorry, if we are to put, let me bring back to 75. Sorry for this. If we are to make two columns appear beside one another, we have to use what we call the floating property. So in the left column, we have to float it to the left. So meaning to say, it is floating on the left side, and then on the right column, we have to float it either to the left, pwedeng to the left, or let me use left, float left, and then all of yon, meron tayong dalawang columns, the first column and the second column. But you will notice na may space tayo on the right side, so we can make it float right, the right column, we can make it float to the right, so there will be space in between the two columns. Yan. Okay, and then on the left column, you can put here all the links that you want to put. For example, href equals, let us say, ending A. Then let us put line break, so it will not be horizontally aligned. Halimbawa ay home. This is about us. This is contact us. Yan. Then you will notice that it will appear on the, I save it, home.html, about us.html, and .html, contact us.html, and then we have to put the text that we want to create as link. Then we have home, about us, and then in between, and then contact us. Okay, then if we are to do that, you will notice yon, you have already here the three links. And then later on, we will in the next topic, I will tell you how you will give design to them, so it will be good to look at rather than this simple text. And then on the right column naman, you can put here the image that we used a while ago. You can have img, and then you can have here src equals let us say desert dot jpeg width of let us say 90%, width equals 90%. Yan. And then pwede na yung height, automatic na yun. Then save, and then you will have your page. Yan, malaki yung height, so we can put height here. Height equals, let us say mga 300 pixels. Okay, so we have here the page. Yan. Okay, and then in the footer naman, we can just put here, for example, statement like a paragraph tag, then ending p. Let us say this page is created by, you can put your name, Sir Willie. Okay, and then you can have here, yon, this page is created by Sir Willie. Okay, no need to don't worry about the spaces. I will tell you later how you will remove the spaces in between div. Okay, this is how to use grid system using CSS and HTML only. Okay, then hopefully you have learned something, and then hopefully you can apply it in the activity that I will tell you to do.